First of all, Paris was absolute mayhem, absolutely manic. Sick triathlon races though, just really, really good. That's one of the reasons I was there. The other reason was to visit Emily, who was working there as well. I had a fantastic time. Paris was an amazing venue for the Olympics and absolutely knackered from it. Came off the back of it and I got seriously ill. It was basically a whole week of training that I missed because I'd planned a couple of days out in Paris just to not do anything, and then got back, was planning to get back into training, but came down with a pretty severe stomach bug or something along those lines, which completely might wipe me out for the rest of the week. And I was just kind of thinking about it and trying to justify it in my head and come to terms with it and be okay with it, which I'm sure most people have to do whenever they get injured or ill with training. But actually thinking back, it hasn't happened to me many times at all. I'm pretty consistent with things and my body seems relatively resilient to illness and injury, which is of course amazing for triathlon because one of the biggest things is consistency, which brought me on to the blog that I wrote the other day for Entire, which is about what Steve Jobs was saying about perseverance. One of his quotes was, "I'm convinced about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. It's so hard. You pour so much of your life into this thing." And of course he was talking about entrepreneurship, but the same thing applies to triathlon, right? Like you have to persevere through the tough times. It's not always going to be easy. And yeah, it wasn't easy last week to just sit in my ass and I literally just didn't want to do anything. I really didn't. I wasn't even disappointed about not training really. But I did come into this week being like, crap, I've got literally 2 weeks until I'm racing and I don't feel anywhere near ready because that whole week was no training whatsoever. I'm definitely on the back foot, completely wiped out from this illness. And it's one of those things where you just have to trust the process, know that I've been consistent throughout the year and that hopefully that will come good come the race. I don't think I'm going to be fully prepared, obviously not. I've missed a week that I hadn't planned on missing. But at the same time, it's all about getting back on the bandwagon as quickly as possible, just making sure that I don't waste the time that I have and making sure that that's as well used as possible, I guess, and that I'm delivering myself to this race in the best shape possible considering the circumstances. Thought I'd touch on those notes because it was obviously I had loads of time to think, and I was just thinking about how often I actually miss training or missed a planned session, and going back to the fact that I don't think I'm a particularly gifted athlete in the respect of the physical nature of it. But one thing that I am quite gifted in is that I'm very disciplined, I've got a lot of perseverance, and I'm very, very consistent. And that allows me to string a lot of training together and has allowed me to be a decent athlete at the end of the day. I think that's really helped me in becoming as good of an athlete as I possibly could be by just being ridiculously consistent. And over a long period of time that compounds and then eventually you get to where you want to be. So yeah, I think that's one of the really strong assets that I have as an athlete. And hopefully that will benefit me going forward as well, because again, it compounds over time and eventually you do get there. mean, I see it in my coached athletes and the squad around me. But for my coached athletes, for example, the people that are able to hit each session day in, day out, and that's obviously tailored to them and their work schedules and things like that. But the people that I can help to set up their weekly plan so that they're able to execute it as often as possible, and they stay consistent, they stay disciplined with the execution of the sessions as well. They reap the rewards of that enormously. It doesn't just apply to professionals, it applies to age groupers as well. I see it every single day, every season that goes by with Entire, for example. Just huge improvements, especially for those that have stayed really consistent over a long period of time. And that starts in winter. The longer that you can do that for, the better. It scales up and down. If you're not consistent, you don't get those rewards and you don't get the performances that you want. Or at least you don't get them as consistently as you want. There's tons of ways of staying consistent and disciplined and persevering through those tough times. And I've spoken about this on loads of other videos in the past, and you can have a look at the channel and just maybe subscribe. That might be a good idea as well, because I tend to harp on about it a lot. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things, and there's loads of coping mechanisms. Getting a coach is a great one because it's obviously accountability for one. That helps you be consistent and get a good plan around you. But yeah, no, I think there's loads of other ways that you can do it yourself as well. An accountability partner, that could be just your partner, whoever you're with, or a training buddy, just a training partner. So yeah, have a think about it. I think that's one thing that I'm very good at, and I have surrounded myself with the right team, and just personally am very disciplined. So yeah, I'm not saying that most professionals aren't, because they are, that's why they're good. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I was reflecting on whilst I was ill, and hopefully it comes to fruition over the next couple of months, because I've got some really tough races coming up and I'm hoping to do well, but it's always tough when you've had a little bit of a setback. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.